The cafe was unusually still, the kind of quiet that makes every sound sharper, the clink of a spoon, the hum of the coffee machine, the soft shuffle of Emma's tired feet. After nearly 12 hours on her feet, her back ached and her eyes burned, but she pushed through, determined to finish her shift with the same care she had started. Wiping down the counter, she glanced toward the far end of the room. There, by the wide window, sat an older man. He wasn't dressed like the wealthy travelers she often served, no shiny watches, no expensive suits. His clothes were simple, almost plain, and his posture carried the weight of someone who had lived through too much. Before him sat a single cup of coffee, untouched, its steam long since faded into the air. He seemed lost in the glow of the city lights outside, but Emma sensed he wasn't truly seeing them. His gaze felt distant, like someone trying to hold on to a memory that kept slipping away. Most nights, Emma wouldn't have thought much of it. Guests came and went, many of them wrapped up in their own worlds. But something about this man's stillness pulled at her. There was loneliness in the way he sat, as if the empty chair across from him had once belonged to someone he missed. To Emma, he was just another customer, yet there was an unspoken heaviness about him, a silence that seemed louder than the quiet cafe around them. Emma hesitated for a moment, her tray balanced in one hand, wondering if she should approach him. She was exhausted, and it would have been easier to simply ask if he needed a refill and move on. But something in the way he sat there, his fingers resting loosely around the cooling cup, stirred a gentle ache in her heart. With a soft breath, she walked over, her shoes making the faintest sound on the polished floor. "Sir, would you like me to warm up your coffee?" she asked, her voice calm and kind. The man looked up as though startled, as if he hadn't noticed anyone near him. His eyes were tired but warm, lined with years of unspoken stories. For a brief moment, he didn't answer, then gave her a faint smile. "Thank you," he said quietly. Emma poured him a fresh cup, the aroma of roasted beans filling the space between them. Something inside her told her not to stop there. Setting the pot back on the tray, she leaned forward slightly and asked, almost in a whisper, "Are you doing okay tonight?" The man blinked, surprised. Most people never asked questions like that. After a pause, he nodded, though his expression carried more weight than his answer. To ease the silence, Emma shared a little of herself, how she often worked late to support her younger brother, how she dreamed of better days but kept going because someone depended on her. The man listened intently, his quiet smile growing softer with every word. The following night, when Emma returned for her shift, she was surprised to see the same man sitting in the very same spot by the window. His presence felt almost comforting, as though he had become a part of the cafe's quiet rhythm. This time, his coffee cup was nearly empty, and when Emma approached, he greeted her with a small, genuine smile that hadn't been there before. "You came back," she said lightly, setting a fresh pot on the table. "And you remembered me," he replied, his voice carrying a gentle warmth. From then on, it became a quiet ritual. Night after night, the man returned, and Emma always made sure to stop by his table. Sometimes she brought him little things, an extra biscuit the kitchen was about to throw away, or a warm roll left from dinner service. He never asked for them, but he always accepted with gratitude, as if each small gesture meant far more than the food itself. Their conversations were simple at first, small exchanges about the weather, the city lights, or the quietness of the night. But as the days passed, Emma noticed something change. He began to ask about her brother, about how she managed to stay strong despite the long hours. She laughed more easily with him, and in those moments, she didn't feel like just a tired waitress, she felt seen. What Emma never realized was that her kindness, her willingness to care without expecting anything in return, was slowly mending something broken inside the man's heart. It was on a Friday evening when everything changed. The cafe was busier than usual, but Emma still noticed the familiar figure by the window. She brought him his coffee with the same warm smile, but before she could ask her usual question, the sound of hurried footsteps broke the calm. The hotel manager, a sharply dressed man, rushed in, his expression flustered. He stopped abruptly at the sight of the older gentleman and immediately straightened his tie. "Mr. Bennet, sir. I didn't know you were here tonight," he said, his voice filled with nervous respect. Emma froze, the tray in her hands suddenly heavy. "Mr. Bennet?" She glanced at the man she thought she knew, the quiet guest, the lonely traveler, and her heart skipped a beat. The name was familiar. Mr. Bennet wasn't just a guest, he was the owner of the entire hotel chain. Her cheeks flushed, and for a moment, embarrassment washed over her. She wondered if she had overstepped all those nights, chatting, offering pastries, speaking openly about her life. She lowered her eyes, murmuring an apology, but before she could retreat, the man, Mr. Bennet, spoke softly. "Emma," he said, his voice steady, "don't apologize. Your kindness reminded me why I built this place in the first place, not for profit, not for prestige, but for people. You gave me something I haven't felt in years, genuine care." Emma looked up, stunned, as his smile held no trace of the power his name carried, only gratitude. A week later, Emma arrived for her shift and found an envelope waiting for her at the counter with her name neatly written across it. Curious, she slipped it open, her hands trembling as she unfolded the letter inside. Her eyes scanned the words, and for a moment she couldn't breathe. Mr. Bennet had written to her personally. In careful, graceful handwriting, he thanked her for the kindness she had shown him, small acts that had meant more than she could ever imagine. He revealed that he had arranged a full scholarship for her younger brother's education and, to her shock, offered her a promotion to guest relations manager. It was more than just a raise, it was an acknowledgement that her heart had value far beyond the role she thought she played. Tears blurred her vision as she pressed the letter to her chest. Emma had never expected anything in return for her kindness. She had only cared, only listened, only treated a lonely man as if he mattered. And now, her life was changing in ways she could never have dreamed. That night, when she stepped into the cafe again, she glanced at the window where Mr. Bennet used to sit. The chair was empty, but his presence lingered in her heart. Smiling through her tears, she whispered to herself, "All I did was care." And with that, she understood the truth, even the smallest act of kindness can open doors to miracles, doors that lead not only to others' healing, but to your own brighter tomorrow.